The first mistake that so many people make in this situation, from my male followers I drew a mustache, which in my native language Punjabi is called a much. From my female followers I drew a braid, which in my native language Punjabi is called a gut. The problem that so many people have is you make money and then you spend money. You have no system for your money. But that ends today, because I want you to create 3 different buckets for your money, or in a practical setting, I want you to create 3 different bank accounts. This way, anytime you get paid, your money is going to be divided into 3 different places. Number 1 is going to be your spending money. Number 2 is going to be your investing money. And number 3 is going to be your saving money. And the reason why you want to put this in 3 different bank accounts is so you do not accidentally spend your investment money, or you don't accidentally spend your savings money. It's kind of like why the government takes your taxes before you actually see the money. The reason why is because the government knows that if you were supposed to pay the government at the end of the year, you would have probably already spent the money and the government's not going to get paid. Because for the average American, you're going to spend whatever amount of money you have in your bank account. And so the government does not rely on you to be smart with their money and to budget for your taxes. So they want to take that money before you even see it. So you kind of want to do the same thing. You want to allocate your money aside for your investments and your savings before you even see it. Put it in a different bank account. That way now you have money to invest, which is going to make you wealthy. You have money to save, which is going to protect you against an emergency. Now you might be saying, well, Jaspreet, how much money do you do in each? Well, a simple rule of thumb that you can follow is a 75-15-10 plan, which says for every dollar that you earn from here on out, 75 cents is the maximum that you can spend, 15 cents is the minimum you invest, 10 cents is the minimum that you save. And you might say, well, Jaspreet, that sounds pretty hard. You expect me to live off of 3/4 of every dollar that I earn? I'm already struggling as it is right now. How am I supposed to live off of so much less? Well, I want you to think of it this way. The government, if they were to raise your taxes tomorrow, what are you going to do? You're going to complain and cry and scream, and then you're going to find a way, because if you don't, you're going to go to jail. Treat it the same way. I want you to tax yourself. Now, not so you make the government rich, but so you make yourself rich. You're taxing yourself by automating your money to go into different bank accounts. Now, here's the thing. You have to have 3 different bank accounts. That way you don't accidentally spend this money and this money, and you want this to be automated. Most banks are going to allow you to create these automatic transfers. If you know how much money you're making every single month, banks will allow you to create an automatic transfer from one bank account to the other. If they're charging you money to do this, get a new bank. Now, here's something you want to know, especially when it comes to your savings. You want to have a separate bank account just for emergency savings. Emergency savings is there to protect you in case you lose your job. It's there to protect you in case your car breaks down. It's there to protect you in case your kid gets sick or something bad happens. This is there as protection, so when something bad happens, you don't got to go into credit card debt to fund that expense. And you want to have somewhere between 3 to 12 months worth of expenses. Now, the amount of money you actually put aside is going to depend on where you are in your financial journey. We recently hired somebody in my Briefs Media team who was young, in his 20s, and he was asking me, why do I need such a high amount of savings? He doesn't have a wife. He doesn't have any kids, doesn't have a lot of financial responsibilities, asking, why can't I just take this money and invest it? And you're right. If you're younger, you don't need a year's worth of expenses put aside, because you don't have the same financial responsibilities as somebody in their mid-40s who has kids, who's maybe taking care of their parents, who's got a lot more financial responsibilities, and maybe can't take on a whole lot of risk right now. When you're younger, you can be a little bit more aggressive, don't need as much savings. So figure out where you are on your journey in life. Figure out what your risk tolerance is, and see if you need 3 to 12 months worth of expenses. Figure that out, and then save that money and put it aside and don't touch it. Yeah, it'll lose value to inflation, but it's there to protect you against an emergency. It's not there to make you rich. I'm going to be talking about how you invest your money a little bit later in this video, but just know that if you are an investor, my team at Briefs Media also publishes a free daily newsletter called Market Briefs, where we break down what's happening in the economy, the stock market, the housing market, the crypto market, and the global economy into a fun and witty and easy to read newsletter. We have hundreds of thousands of investors that are reading Market Briefs every day. It's a super fun read. I read Market Briefs every morning. If you have not joined it yet, I got the link for you to join for free down in the description below. And I'm also going to be talking about how do you spend your money smartly a little bit later in this video. So now that we've broken down part 1, which is systemize your money, let's talk about part number 2, which is getting a raise. The mistake that so many people make is they assume that if I make more money, all my financial problems will be solved. That means if you are in this situation right here with a mustache or the braid, and you go from making $60,000 a year living broke, and now you get a raise to $70,000 a year, all your financial problems will be solved. Because now not only do you have money to pay all of your bills, you'll also have some extra money every single month. Now you can save your money, now you can invest your money, and you got no stress. But I have seen this play out time and time and time again. I've been teaching financial education for a long time now, and let me tell you, what ends up happening to most people, statistically, in this situation, you go out and you make more money, and then, boom, you got more expenses. You go out and buy a nicer car. You start buying the organic blueberries. You start buying the organic eggs. You take another trip to Disney World. And now all of a sudden, you thought you'd have an additional $10,000 a year to invest and save, and now you're in a deeper hole than you were before. This is why so many people making 6 figures a year are broke, with little to no investments, with little to no hope. Because as you make more money, banks also look at you as a more qualified borrower, and they want to lend you more money. But not anymore. Now you have a system for your money, and when you have a system for your money, now you have the most power when you go out to earn more money. Because here's what can happen now. If you go out and you earn more money and you've already systemized your finances, you're already taxing yourself, right? To put money aside to invest, you put money aside to save. Well, now what happens is as you earn more money, whether it's an additional $1,000 a month or an additional $10,000 a month, as you earn more money, you can spend a little bit more money, but you're also going to be investing more money, and you're also going to be saving more money because you have these ratios, 75, 15, 10, or whatever number you choose to follow. You have this system where as you earn more money, you're always saving more, you're always investing more. Plus, you also get to spend a little bit more as well. Now, there's a ton of content on the internet that will help you on how do you actually get a raise, but the best piece of advice that I can give you as an employer is show your value. When you become more valuable, it's much easier to justify getting a raise. So if you want to make more money, don't just go in and say, hey, can I make more money? To do the exact same thing that I was doing yesterday. Say, hey, not only am I doing my normal job, but I'm also doing X, Y, and Z, and I'm also going to start doing this as well because I'm adding so much more value, because I'm adding so much more value to the company, because I'm making the company so much more money, can I get this much more money? Now it's much easier for you to sell that raise. But there's a ton of content out there. If you don't want to do it through your job, you can also work to get a side hustle, start your own side business, do whatever you want to do. That way we can make some more income. But now the key again is you're making more money, so you have more money to invest, you have more money to save, and then you have a little bit more money to spend as well. Step number 3 is I want you to be smart with your debt. The question that everybody who has debt asks is, should I invest my money into something like the stock market, or should I pay down my debt? And the answer is it depends. It depends on where you are in your journey, and it depends on what kind of debt you have. Because it's a very different situation when you have credit card debt or payday loans that are costing you 20-25% a year versus a mortgage at 3.5% a year. So let's break this down. When you invest your money into something like the stock market, a good return is something around 10% a year on average. The average credit card debt in America today at the time we record in this video is around 24% a year. Now, I know I'm just a random guy on YouTube, but if we do some basic math, what I can tell you is if you take your money and put it into the stock market as opposed to paying down this debt, it's a losing transaction. So if you have any sort of high interest debts, you want to attack that before you worry about investing. So if you have high interest debts like credit card debts, pay that off before you worry about investing your money, because that high interest debt is skinning you alive. Even if you take this money and you put it into the stock market and you get an above average return of 15%, you would have gotten a better return if you paid off the credit card debt 1 year early, because it is a guaranteed 20-25% a year. Now here's the thing, if you have credit card debt, this is the time that you need to be as aggressive as possible to pay that credit card debt down, because this credit card debt, these high interest credit card debts, are skinning you alive financially. It's the reason why credit card companies get to fly around in those private jets. It's the reason why they have these big, beautiful buildings. It's because people are paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies to finance yesterday's purchases. Now, we can't go back in time to change what you did yesterday or last year, but you can change what you're doing now. That is working to save some extra money, working to earn some extra money, that we can attack the credit card debt and never have to worry about it again. One thing that has also worked well for people that have credit card debt is moving some of this credit card debt to a 0% APR credit card. That way you get a little period of time, maybe 12, 18 months, depending on what the credit card is, to attack the credit card debt with no interest. That way you can just pay down the principal balance and not have to worry about all that extra interest. But the key for this to work is you want to do this when you are serious about paying down the credit card debt. You don't want to just take that balance and transfer it over and then rack up the credit card debt even higher. I mean, you're defeating the whole purpose. You want to do it strategically. That way you can get a little bit of a break from the interest and then attack the credit card debt very hard by working to save, working to earn more, and pay down as much of that principal balance as fast as possible. But what if you have lower interest rate debt? Say you have a 3% mortgage or a 4% mortgage or a 5% mortgage. Now, doesn't it make sense for you to take your extra money and invest it into the stock market to try to get a 10% return because 3, 4, or 5% on your mortgage is a lower interest rate than the stock market? And the answer is, it depends. It depends on you, because the reality is taking that money, putting it into the stock market is a risk. You might get 10%, you might get 20%, but you might also get 3%. You might get 0%, you might get negative 5%. So there's no guarantee on what your return will be when you put that money into the stock market. But if you pay down your mortgage at 4%, well, that's a guaranteed 4% return every year that you don't have to pay that mortgage. So now you get to decide what's your risk tolerance. If you are interested in taking more risk to try to grow that money faster, then yeah, take the money, put it into the stock market. If you just want to be free and not have to worry about money again and not have to make any payments, pay down the debts. See, there's not always a one-size-fits-all story, because a lot of people on the internet want to tell you, this is what you need to do. The answer is it depends, because you're different than me, your risk tolerance is different than me, your goals are different than me, which is why you never want to blindly listen to a random guy on YouTube. If you enjoyed this clip and you want to continue your financial education journey, I have another video that I think you'll love. All you got to do is click that button right over there. And for those of you who want to stay up to date on the top finance and business news, you can join Market Briefs, my free financial newsletter, by clicking that button below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.